Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Wrap, brought to you by Michigan Medicine Headlines. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Bailey Merzick, also with the Department of Communication. Today we have the next installment of our Parents and Caregivers on the Frontline series. And this episode's focus will be a timely one, looking out for your well-being over the holidays.
Now, before we get into that important conversation, be sure you go back and get caught up on any episodes of The Wrap you may have missed. You can find shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast hosting platform. New episodes can also be found on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel and as part of the headlines we can review.
All right, now let's get into the holiday spirit with Melissa Dorfman, the dual career program manager and project manager in the Office of Faculty Development and Faculty Affairs. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so the holidays are here, and it can obviously be a time of joy for a lot of people, but also a time of stress. What are some tricks you have found when it comes to balancing work and home lives this time of year?
I think it's really important to note that the first thing that needs to go away is a sense of needing to be perfect around the holidays. Everyone has ideas about having a home perfectly decorated and certain holiday meals and those gifts and all sorts of holiday traditions that you might need to keep up with, in addition to doing all the things you usually are doing for your family and at work. And getting all of that done is just not possible. So in order to manage the stress and balance, there's a couple of things that I think are really important. The first is really making sure that you know what work needs to get done and putting that in your calendar. A lot of us take time off at this time of year. And once you put those projects against the time that you are in the office or seeing patients, it can be really difficult to make sure you have time to get them done. So focusing while you're at the office is important. But at the same time, putting aside that always available, always at work mentality that a lot of us have, and maybe putting the cell phones away and stopping checking emails or your portal when you're not there so that you can focus on enjoying your time with your family and celebrating during the holidays. I think it's also important on the personal side to make choices about preparing for a holiday based on what you want from the holiday season. So for our family, relaxing, seeing our broader family having fun, eating good food, and supporting our community is what we try to do during the holiday season. That then translates into what we want to spend our time on and don't want to spend our time on. So for example, we always go to a family Hanukkah party, but we don't spend a lot of time on decorating at home. We also appreciate being invited to all of those celebrations with friends and family, but sometimes we have to say no in order to actually find that time to relax that we're all looking for. And then finally, I look for ways to get help or to plan ahead. So things like ordering out for food to take to a party, or do I have ideas for gifts earlier in the year that can join the stockpile in my guest room, bedroom, closet, waiting for the holiday season? Or maybe agreeing with friends that our New Year's Eve game night potluck is going to be something that will rotate between our houses so that it's not the same family that has to clean in the middle of the holiday season to prepare for a party every year.
And why is it so important to leave the stress of home life behind when you come to work and vice versa?
Well, it's critical to be able to focus on work when you are there. And this becomes so hard during the holiday season when we all have a really endless to-do list. But at the same time, as I said before, many of us are in the office for shorter periods of time during the holidays. And that doesn't mean that your work or your deadlines go away. It just means that you have to focus more to get it done. And especially for those in patient care roles, which my husband is, he's in the Department of Pediatrics, you might be short-staffed during this time, but you still, of course, have to deliver high-quality care. And we have a lot of sick patients at this time of year. So it's really important not to be distracted and to leave that holiday to-do list and those activities at home, except, of course, when you're scheduled to celebrate at work with your colleagues. And at the same time, you really want to enjoy being in the moment when you are with friends and family during the holidays. So maintaining the boundary between work and home life, you can do this with less stress. So again, putting away the cell phone, making sure someone's covering your pager, signing it out, communicating to colleagues about when you aren't available. And so by being efficient in the office, you shouldn't have to take work home with you. Setting a good example for your colleagues by respecting their time can also help.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting this time of year, right? Because so many people sort of set self-imposed deadlines. Oh, I'm going to get that project done by the end of the year, right? But then they don't take into account the fact that for them, December is super stressful in your home life. with the holidays and all sorts of other celebrations going on. And so you almost have, it's not even necessarily the same workload. Sometimes it's even more of a workload in less time, especially if you sort of take that last week of December off.
I think that's a really good point. And this is a really important time of year to put those projects that maybe aren't urgent on the back burner and be purposeful about when you're going to be able to get them done, not creating some artificial deadline that the end
Yep.
of the year is really important when it's not.
Right, right. So a lot of people thrive off of routine, right? On Tuesday I do this, on Wednesdays I do this, on Thursdays I do that. I see patients at this time. I go home and I rest and relax, and you can't always do that routine in December. What sort of tips do you have, or how do you personally remain organized and on top of all that needs to be done when you're out of your typical routine?
So I have to say that I'm one of these people that lives or dies by my calendar. And this is especially true because I have two kids who are 12 and 17. And this time of year not only brings the typical family and work celebrations, but also all kinds of end of the year concerts, performances, exams, all kinds of things for my kids. So I'm a big believer in using my calendar, both on my phone and my computer, to capture as much as possible. As soon as you have information about something that's coming up, and it can be those last minute emails that come from a teacher. Oh, we have a concert next week. All kids need to wear black and white, and please bring a dessert to share with 40 people. But putting that on my calendar, also putting in the vacation and season days, any family events, and all of that, and then figuring out whether we can fit in the other things that might come up, and maybe where we might need to say no. I also have a spreadsheet for gifts and things that need to happen for various events, and I've had it for years. And so that leaves me some space because I know that I need to get 15 gift cards to give out to the sanitation workers and the postal workers and the teachers. And I'm making cookies for this group of neighbors. And so, that makes me more comfortable that I'm going to get everything done. But, spreadsheets and calendars, they don't really bring a lot of joy. I want to end with a reminder that some things are going to be spontaneous and things won't happen perfectly or even at all. And that's okay.
Yeah, so with everything you have going on, are there specific things that you do every day to ensure, even though you're busy, you're still giving yourself a chance to find joy and peace?
I definitely try to get enough sleep, try to get exercise regularly. Sometimes those things have to go by the wayside, but when they do, I try not to overindulge, so eating a lot during the holidays and not exercising doesn't make anyone feel very good. Um, I also like to make sure that I take some time to get outside every day. I have a dog, so some long dog walks can counter that holiday indulgence. And then, I've already mentioned my lists, and obviously I kind of live by my lists, but I make sure that I feel peaceful by seeing that things are on track and I'm checking them off. And then the last thing is actually stopping spending a lot of time on social media this time of year because it's kind of a black hole and I'd rather be in the moment. And that makes me more likely to find the joy and peace in what I'm doing instead of by looking at what other people are doing or thinking about trying to post perfect pictures.
Yeah, and it almost presents a fake image, right, of everyone's life because they're not posting the stressful stuff. They're posting the fun stuff. So then everyone gets this idea in their head that they should be having fun and it shouldn't be stressful. But it really
Absolutely.
is for everyone, right?
Yep.
So I know you mentioned your family's Hanukkah party. Do you have any other special holiday traditions that you'd like to share?
I do. So even though we're Jewish, we actually love gingerbread houses. And so most years we have a party for our kids and their friends to decorate the houses. And we have a casual dinner with those family friends. And even though they're teenagers, they're still really competitive about who has the best gingerbread house. And of course, eating as much candy as they can. So it turns into a crazy sugar high for the kids, but it's really fun to see what they come up with. We have this family holiday party, which includes a white elephant gift exchange with the cousins. So that always ends up with some really funny gifts that we bring home. Like last year, I got an owl pellet, ended up with that because I had a low number and so I couldn't trade with anyone. Not the best Hanukkah gift. But Hanukkah is not a hugely significant holiday. It's obviously become important in American culture. So we've created some family traditions around gift giving. We have a night where we give each other something to read, another where we get something to eat. So one of my sons loves hot sauces, and we give him a package of hot sauce every year, or fancy hot chocolate for my other son. Another night is something to wear. And then our last tradition is that we always have a night during Hanukkah where we give to a family we've adopted. And this year we're doing that through the IPSY Secret Santa exchange.
I love that, because I have to admit, 8 nights is a lot to fill.
It is.
And we've struggled with that too. So I love the idea of the themes. I think that's awesome. And giving, and this is a season to give back, right? And that might be another way to find joy.
Absolutely. And my kids have gotten into it. So we always pick a family who have kids around the same age and the same gender. And so they like shopping for other people to give them what they might have wanted for themselves.
Well, that was some really awesome insight. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to learn more about self-care and wellness during the holiday season, you can go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
All right. And while you're there, you can check out other featured stories from this week. For instance, there was another installment of our inclusive communication series, which focused on respectfully discussing religion. And there was also a look back at the recent Hope and Joy Awards. There was insight also into the Aikens Innovation Academy. Find all that and much more at mmheadlines.org.
Okay, Dan. So we asked Melissa about her special holiday traditions. So is there anything that you do special around the holidays?
Yeah, so we have a ton of fun over the holidays. So we are a Christmaka family. I grew up celebrating Hanukkah. My wife grew up celebrating Christmas, so we celebrate both. And I love all the Christmas traditions now because I never had it growing up. So I'm a stickler for putting the ornaments on the tree correctly, and so I will tell my wife if she is doing it incorrectly. But we love doing that. But the other thing that's really cool, we light the candles every night for Hanukkah. And what I love is that my in-laws have actually like adopted that. They live in another state. They don't celebrate Hanukkah, but they have a little menorah and they light the candles every night too, sort of in my honor, which I think is really cool. So it's just sort of, I love the idea of sharing the traditions between families and the things that have gone back generations. So I think that's really cool. What does your family do over the holidays?
So we celebrate Christmas, and on Christmas Eve, my whole family gets together. We have a really big family. We do actually a different theme every year. So like one year we all wore pajamas and had breakfast food. And one year we just had wore tailgating sports gear and did like hot dogs and hamburgers. So we change the theme every year just to make it exciting.
That's awesome. Who picks the theme? That's what I want to know.
The family that's hosting that year.
Oh, nice. All right, well, it's time for the weekly trivia contest. Can you name 2 of the 4 winners of this year's Hope Awards? Once again, name any 2 of the 4 winners of this year's Hope Awards. You can find those winners listed in this week's headline story. Once you know it, send it to headlines@med.umich.edu for the chance to win a prize.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Melissa, for joining us. And thanks, as always, to our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other.
Happy holidays, and we'll see you next week.